Okay, so this one was very unexpected. Picture the scene, if you will. Every few months I venture out of my edit suite, house, to go and raid my local charity shops, Poundlands, Goodwills and DVD resellers looking for garbage. Purposefully looking for films that are unique or strange looking. When you're in the business of reviewing the bottom of the barrel films, you tend to come across a lot of doubles. It's fun to have the adventure, but after the 8th charity shop raid where all you've come away with is 4 copies of Let's Ruin Dad's Day, it can get a little disheartening and a little bit repetitive. I used to do it monthly, but due to space and spousal limitations, it's now a quarterly field trip. So I'm out with my sister and we're in CEX, a popular second-hand media retailer in the UK. And I'm just about to leave the place empty-handed when I see this DVD cover. At that exact moment I had no idea what I was letting myself in for. And I knew exactly what I was letting myself in for. The name Primal Species is fairly innocuous. In fact, one look at the dinosaur on the cover and I was certain it was going to either be a cheap and cheerful EGA-style prehistoric romp, or some kind of rip-off of Jurassic Park. I was wrong on both counts, because what I was letting myself in for here was actually a sequel to a series I'd never seen before. In Europe, this film's simply known as Primal Species, but in the US you may be more familiar with this film by its original title, Carnosaur 3 Primal Species. Quite why they dropped the Carnosaur 3 part in Europe is a little bit lost on me, honestly. I have to assume it was either a conscious branding choice or some kind of legal issue. Either way, I took it home, popped it in, and was blown away by just how utterly hyper it was. Carnosaur 3 Primal Species is a 1996 action movie with dinosaurs directed by Jonathan Winfrey and written by Rob Kirchner. Winfrey is mainly known as a director who's probably best known for his long working stint in kids' television, having directed episodes of Cousin Skeeter, Even Stevens, and Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. But in terms of actual feature productions, his filmography is a bit slim, having no standout credits, and his biggest successes being for films like Excessive Force 2 and the Black Scorpion movies. Kirchner wrote the story on this one, though weirdly there's no actual scriptwriter listed in any of the credits for this movie. Even Kirchner isn't listed in the credits as far as I can see. He has 30 writing credits to his name, and to be brutally honest, most, if not all of them, are pretty much garbage. With titles such as Casper: A Spirited Beginning and The Addams Family Reunion. If you want any further proof that what we'll be getting into here is looking worrying, then you'll be delighted to know that Kirchner was the executive producer of Alien Species, a movie I covered on my channel a few months ago, which was one of the worst trauma-distributed movies I've ever seen. In all honesty, I was totally deflated by this news, until I stuck the disc into my player and saw the words fade up on the screen that make any cult movie connoisseur's ears prick up and their pupils dilate. Roger Corman presents. It was at that point that I knew this film was going to be relatively safe. Corman is a modern marvel, a man with over 418 production credits, and growing. He has 56 directing credits and hundreds of appearances in films and television in a career spanning well over half a century. The man knows how to make a purse out of a sow's ear, and while I'd be a fool to say that Corman can save any movie, the odds are that if Corman is on your crew, your film's going to at least be as well made as it's physically possible to be. Carnosaur 3 shouldn't work. It really shouldn't. It's ridiculously stupid, and yet under Corman's guidance and Winfrey's direction, it somehow does the impossible and actually produces a damn fun and enjoyable little film. The plot's a bit garbled, so I'll try my best to put it out here as clearly as possible. The film opens with an army convoy transporting some military cargo from one facility to another. While en route, however, the convoy is attacked by terrorists who wish to steal the haul, which they believe is uranium, in order to sell it on the black market and use it for generally nefarious purposes. The hijack's successful and they return to their base with the cargo, only to find it isn't quite what they thought it was. Their uranium in fact turns out to be 3 full-size living, breathing, sleeping dinosaurs. 2 raptor-like creatures and a female T-Rex. Frankly confused by their discovery, the terrorists try to wake up the dinosaurs, who immediately attack and eat them. One of the terrorists manages to survive, however, and is picked up by the police rambling and raving. The police find the terrorists' hideout and discover the dinosaurs, who attack and eat them too. Meanwhile, a special ops unit of the army are undertaking some vital terrorist training when the captain of the squad is taken to one side and briefed about the recent terrorist hijacking. He's told that him and his team will be visiting the terrorists' hideout to try and reclaim the cargo. The team arrive at the base and almost immediately discover the dinosaurs and, well, you get the idea. Most of the team manage to escape from the dinosaurs, and after confronting his superiors, the sergeant is given a full brief. These aren't regular dinosaurs, these are Carnosaurs. Genetically altered dinosaurs who've been cloned and spliced together with human DNA to create super powerful, self-healing, asexual, hyper-intelligent mega-beasts who, if they aren't contained, will self-reproduce and spawn dozens and dozens of hyper-intelligent dinosaurs which will be capable of wiping out mankind. The sergeant's then tasked with recapturing the dinosaurs before they have time to self-reproduce successfully, preferably alive. He's also given a plucky team of Marines to help him in this task, which in and of itself causes friction between the sergeant's original army-based team and the new team of Marines. And thus a battle for the lives of everyone on the planet begins, with the stakes growing higher and higher as every minute passes. Within the first few minutes of this film, you know you're watching a good bad movie. It just becomes so painfully obvious by the tone, style, scripting, direction. It's almost impossible to mistake it for anything other than that. Better still, this film realises this and is totally self-aware about it. But not in the way that films like Sharknado handle self-awareness. This film does it in a much more subtle manner that makes it all the more palatable. From a plot perspective, the script's as basic as it comes. It has a unique and fun little twist, what with it involving dinosaurs, but it's definitely not challenging plot-wise. You could quite easily skip 10 minutes ahead at any point in this film and still know exactly what's going on and who's involved. It's a big, dumb, goofy action movie with a USP twist. But what makes this film even better still is the fact that the dialogue used throughout is just total cheese. On paper it doesn't read too badly, but when spoken by the cast of this film it's absolutely amazing. "Stay calm, we'll be right back" doesn't sound like a particularly memorable line, but when it's delivered like this,
"Stay calm, we'll be right back,"
you get what I'm saying. And this wasn't just a one-off duff delivery, the whole movie sounds like this. The whole damn thing is just one massive hunk of extra strong cheese, and I absolutely fell in love with it. The closest thing I can compare it to would probably be Terror in Beverly Hills. And much like Terror in Beverly Hills, this movie's also about 80% ADR'd, meaning a lot of the dialogue sounds completely out of place when it's coming out of the actors' mouths. It's a lot of fun. On the subject of delivery, the acting in this is equally overpowering. Everything in this film is operating on 11. There's no such thing as low energy as far as this film's concerned. and there's barely a moment to catch your breath as the cast career through set pieces and exchanges with the power and force of a wrecking ball. Everyone's pretty much insane in this film, and every scene feels like someone's just going to flat out rip their shirt open and start screaming to the heavens while gunning down everything in sight. Between the cast and the script, I can absolutely say there's rarely, if ever, a dull moment, and I'm amazed at the acting on show here. It's by no means great, it's just breathtaking. The cinematography is pretty damn fun here as well, with everything from cheesy crash zooms to really decent match transitions and a really solid range of shot types, causing a good churning mixture of variety. It's lightweight, punchy and manic, much like the acting. It's just entertaining through and through. I also have to appreciate the use of lighting in this film, as when matched up to the shots it really helps paper over a lot of cracks in this film's production. Particularly the dinosaurs, who, when they're fully lit, look rubbish. They're clearly just men in costumes. But when masked by a good variety of shot types and some really decent moody lighting, it actually kind of pulls it off. The direction's not bad either. It's very solid, in fact. There's a real emphasis on shot structure throughout and a real solid attempt at some decent stylisation. The cast all appear animate within the scenes they're in, and while it's far from award-winning cinema, it's just so much fun to see just how awful and entertaining this film can be in equal measures. You can tell that this one's been overseen by Corman because the direction really is up to standard here. It makes the best out of a bad hand, and I really have to commend the direction, because had it been any different, this film would have definitely suffered. But because everyone is quite self-aware that this is a goofy, muscle-bound action movie, that's what this film ends up being, with excellent results. I also have to mention the soundtrack, which equally saves this movie from absolute collapse. Corman has a few traits that help define his style of movie making, and one of them is not to skimp on the direction or the music. If your film looks good and sounds good, it can make an audience much more forgiving of a terrible script or a bad cast or bad editing. And here the music stands out by a country mile as some really top-class stuff. It's fast-paced, actiony, and weirdly I found myself watching this film thinking, this music doesn't belong here. It's much too good to be hanging around with scenes shot like this. I'll be honest, it's not something I'd rush out to put on my iTunes anytime soon, but it's absolutely in line with the tone of this film and of a very high standard given the budget and setup of the other aspects of this feature. The editing's alright. As I mentioned earlier, it's used to great effect in order to mask the somewhat ropey effects of the dinosaurs themselves, and it's quite breakneck in terms of its pacing and timings. The post team really had their work cut out for them in trying to stitch something together from the madness that must have been this movie's rushes. But it all seems to come together and work somehow. What I will say is that this feature clocks in at approximately 1 hour and 17 minutes long, and realistically it probably could have been closer to that hour mark and been much better for it. The film's by no means slow, but there are a few minutes here and there that are spent on exposition that's either a bit pointless or repetitive, that could have maybe have been taken out to help tighten this up a bit more. That's splitting hairs though, because realistically the film works just fine on its own. Carnosaur 3 Primal Species was released on VHS and DVD in the UK in the early 2000s. It's quite difficult to find information on this film's exact release date as it was distributed by Prism Leisure, who had a habit of releasing their films multiple times on various compilation sets as well as standalone solo releases. From what research I've been able to do, I can say that the film was most likely released on tape and DVD in the UK in either 2000 or 2001. The print quality of these aren't terrible, but it does seem to have had some cropping in place, as the opening titles logos are literally only just in the frame due to having been cropped from their original aspect ratio into 4:3. My copy of the film has a scene selection, but also, and I think this must be a first, it has an also available section, which was great. It's given me a few new films to try and hunt out in the future. I haven't seen any Blu-ray release planned for this one, but I'm sure it'll only make it look even more craptacular. I'm going to end this review with a bit of bonus trivia. This film had a pizza runner listed in its credits roll. That's not classed as catering, there are 2 different catering departments credited. No. The pizza runner's job was literally and exclusively to go and fetch pizza for anyone on set who wanted pizza. Wanted a burger? Tough shit, we don't have a burger runner. But if you want a slice of Mighty Meaty on the afternoon shoot, Rick Super Petters is the hero in the wings ready to meet all your greasy, cheesy pack needs. This film also had not 1, but 2 donkey wranglers. Other than a throwaway comment about how donkeys can be quite intelligent, I really don't remember seeing any donkeys in this movie. Why are they listed in the credits? God knows. But I like to think that somewhere sat in a dark, dingy back room is the Carnosaur 3 cut that we all want to see, with the 40 minutes of donkey wrangling reinserted. It's of the utmost importance that this cut sees the light of day at some point, because I don't want to live in a world where it stays well under wraps. This was a totally cheap and cheerful affair, but with Roger Corman behind the wheel on the production front, I really didn't expect anything more than for it to be a cheap, fun little romp. And that's exactly what you get here. It's overall a bit crap and very cheesy, but good music, fun Cine direction, decent breakneck editing, and a terrible but goofy and very watchable script kept me hooked from beginning to end. Definitely watchable and a hell of a good time. Check this one out as soon as you can.